Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Let's Learn Lenormand. This is our third in this series. This is a series where we are learning Lenormand together. Now, I have been playing with Lenormand for several years now and reading with it a bit, but it's not an area that I feel super crazy comfortable. And so for me, this series is about getting more comfortable. I'm not considering myself to be teaching this material, but we're sort of getting into it together. So if you are just jumping into this now, I highly recommend watching the first few videos in this series, the introduction and videos 1 and 2, because we're going through the cards in groups and also playing with different exercises. So today we're going to be focusing on cards 13 through 18, which is the third group of 6 cards. These are my current things that I'm using. So I'm mostly leaning into this book, Cute Little Lenormand by Sarah M. Lyons, which comes with a adorable card deck. I'm not using the deck with it currently, but also this book, The Language of Lenormand by Erica Robinson, with a foreword by Carrie Papez. This is an excellent Lenormand book as well. I find that this is my favorite for a go-to single source. Currently, I just feel like it's a very user-friendly book, including things like having a quick synopsis of the meaning of all the cards, literally in the end papers in the beginning of the book, which is ridiculously handy, and I reference this all the time, as well as quite comprehensive listings for every single card, which is really handy. So this is one of my main resources. There's some wonderful exercises, and one of the things that sort of inspired me with this series was this book and the way that it has you learn groups of cards, but then also do exercises as you go. And I think this is great. So I've kind of been riffing on that concept a lot in this series as we learn each group of cards, we learn a new exercise and we sort of play with it. So last time we had one of these, I think we focused mostly on this 9-card grid. Before that, we were focusing on 2- and 3-card combinations. And I do that because I don't want it to seem like super crazy intimidating to just jump in and start reading with the cards. So these are the books that I've been using mostly. I recently picked up this Grand Tableau Lenormand, so we'll be playing with this a little bit today for actual readings. But for my sort of study deck, I have been using the Bunny Kisses Lenormand, which you can find on Make Playing Cards. And if you know me at all, you know that I like writing on cards. This is the deck I've been writing on. So I have been writing my favorite words for every card on here. So today I'm just going to pull out the cards that we're not going to be using and put them away so I don't get them mixed up. And we're going to review the cards that we've already covered. And then I'm going to share what I sort of chose for my main working keywords for the next group of cards that we're working on today, but we'll review the old ones as well. And this one I'm not shuffling, this one I am shuffling. So we'll do some exercises, we'll do some sort of drills. We'll try to revisit memorizing what number goes with which card. For that, I am heavily leaning on DonnaLeigh de la Rose's content around helping you to learn each card. So 100% of the credit goes to DonnaLeigh de la Rose. These are not my creations, these ideas of linking the number to the meaning of the card. So for that, I will have that video linked down below. I think it's a series of 3 videos. I'll link those so that you know what I'm referencing for that. In general, highly recommend every single video DonnaLeigh de la Rose has ever done on Lenormand. I love her content. I found it really digestible and easy. But today we're going to work on cards 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, plus a, say, 5-card spread with a significator. And that's something that I do constantly with Lenormand. I may have visited that in previous videos, but that's our focus today. And we're going to work on a technique that Erica Robinson references in here called mirroring. So we'll be looking at mirroring as well as that 5-card spread with a significator, which is also covered in Erica's book here in chapter 6. So if you are following along with Erica's book, you'll want to review chapter 6 if you want to have a written reference. So without further ado, let's revisit the cards that we've already done and get into some new ones today. So let me pull aside actually cards 13 and beyond, and we'll just look at review first. So we begin with the writer. I like news and information, but I also think of the writer as anything kind of coming quickly, because we have, I always think of Paul Revere and the story of Paul Revere in this, and that just helps me to remember it. But the writer is going to be information, news, think of messengers, think of literal news, but I also tend to think of maybe visitors sometimes. This can reference somebody coming into your environment that is maybe unexpected, or maybe it's a short thing, things that are quick and short, but also news and information. For the clover, I have luck and short term as my main keywords I wrote on here, and I tend to think of clover as a little bit of luck. Also, forgive my voice. I'm still getting over a cold, so we're trucking along. Anyway, I think of clover as a little bit of luck, a short-term bit of happiness, something positive, but it's not necessarily, it's kind of there and it's gone. It's not going to be there for a long time necessarily. or it's going to be just something small. So this can be a small gift, a small bit of happiness, a small positive thing. And that's kind of how I think of clover. For ship, I like to think of this in terms of like in a literal sense, I think of this as like a vehicle, but also as travel or journeys or movement in general, like general movement, I tend to associate with the ship card. We have the house, which is often home, family, and security. So things like our comfort zone, our actual home, and home can be literal, like a house or a place you live, but can also be that whole home is where the heart is. So like the place where you feel secure and safe and comfortable. And then also the people who would make up your sort of home. So that's going to be family, chosen, or otherwise. And obviously security, a home is something we like to keep safe. Trees I often think of as health, and that can be physical, spiritual, mental. It can be growth or personal growth. And then longevity. Trees take a very long, they're long, slow growers, right? So it takes a long time. They also can dig roots. So there can be something there about rooting in with the tree card. For clouds, which is card 6, troubled mind, confusion, and I did add, since our last video, doubt. I think doubt's a really great word for the clouds card, and it's been helping me in my practice readings. Snake, this is an adorable snake, but I do typically read snake as betrayal or lies or envy, snaky behavior in that sort of stereotypical snake. I don't think snakes themselves are bad, but it is a useful card to have in the deck, and so this is sort of the, in a way, kind of often like a bad guy card or bad behavior card. And it usually is like a what you see is what you get. Like you kind of often know you're dealing with a snake when you're dealing with a snake. Here we have the coffin. This is endings and loss. It's very stereotypical that way. Then we have the bouquet. So the bouquet is, for me, it's a big gift. It's recognition. So we're given bouquets when we do well at something, like say, like if you see a beautiful performance, you might offer the performer a bouquet, right? So it can be a way of recognition. And I added, I believe, gratitude and beauty. I know I said keep it hemmed in to 1 or 2 keywords, and I'm trying to focus on 1 or 2, but then I find another one and I just want to add it. So I added gratitude and beauty. Gratitude, obviously, because we often give flowers as a show of gratitude. So I like that. I like beauty too for a bouquet. It just makes sense. So this can be a beautiful thing, a soft thing. I like that. That just gives me more flexibility with the card. It may make it too flexible. If that's the case, then I will stop using that, but I like that. And then for the scythe, I often think of this card as something that is cutting and quick and like decisive and sharp. So like a quick cut, it can be something that we're removing or that we're severing. It can be something sharp. If we're talking about a person or their personality, this can be somebody with like a biting personality or with a very blunt or concise way of speaking, or maybe like I think kind of like Queen of Swords vibes with communication. So somebody sharp, quick, or cutting, and also an event that is sharp, quick, or cutting. And then for the whip, this is often the broom and whip, so I put that in parentheses here. So this is going to be anything that is like a repetitive pattern. So there's pattern and repetition, and I also have conflict and aggression. This is also a card that if I was reading for somebody could also be sex, because of course that's something that's like repeated. You get the idea. And then we have birds. This is often a pair or a small group of people, but primarily when I get birds, I think of communication, chatter, sometimes gossip, but it's that like way of like voicing or communicating or expressing verbally. So that is birds. So those are the cards that we've covered in the previous episodes. So now our new cards. So we're going to do it this way, and then we'll walk through like how to remember which number is which, and then we'll sort of practice together. So we start with the child. Now, the child can act much like the man or woman card, or the man or gentleman or lady card, as a significator. If there's a child in your querent's life, that can be something if that's how you want to do that. So this can be a literal child, obviously, but is also a card that I often think of in a fool-like way. And I hesitate to say that because we really don't, I don't think, want to approach Lenormand like we approach tarot. So with tarot, there's all these like layers and layers and layers and layers. And I think with Lenormand, we really want to stay at the more literal or top end of the layers. We don't want to keep digging deeper and deeper necessarily. And so I hesitate to use that reference, but it does apply pretty well. The child can be that innocence or that naivete that we often associate with fool energy, and beginnings, something new, a new start. So I have innocence, new, and beginning listed here for my child card. Then we have fox. Now fox, you're going to find multiple different ways to approach this card. I like the obvious cunning, strategic, I've added here, manipulative, but cunning and manipulative, if I had to pick 2, I'd probably pick those two, because cunning isn't always negative, but the fox, if you're going to have sort of a manipulator or somebody who's pretending to be one thing and is really somebody else, I think that often comes up with this card. Like the snake, you have to know exactly who you're dealing with. Like that's your, like, I don't know, used car salesman. Like, you know that they're a snake, right? That's a terrible example. I'm so sorry. Used car salesmen can be wonderful people. I'm not trying to generalize. I'm just saying, trying to bring up a metaphor. But anyways, we have cunning, but we also have that manipulative. I think, though, the fox can be a very positive card if we're employing that strategic thinking. Think sort of King of Swordsy, like really somebody who's going to see all the moving parts and like be able to work with those. And that can be a positive thing if their powers are used for good and not evil. You know what I mean? Now, I've also written entrepreneur. This one is a little bit more, I would say, controversial. Not everybody's going to see the fox in a worky or businessy place, but I feel like if you're trying to get a read on somebody who is, and especially if it's a job type thing, the fox to me in the deck is going to more likely be that person who's going to be strategic and cunning enough to have like maybe their own business or something like that. So there's an entrepreneurial vibe to this card. Again, that's where I'm kind of leaning into cunning and strategic for that. Not saying that all entrepreneurs are manipulative at all. Obviously, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, I guess. But then we have the bear. Now, the bear, when you put these side by side to me, and I think of these two in a job context, because these are often both used in job contexts. The fox to me is more of like, maybe this could even be the salesperson that like works in a company, but like this is somebody who's going to be able to use that cunning and that strategy. Whereas the bear in a job sense is going to be somebody with power or authority, a manager, a CEO, or somebody who has that like, they're forced to be reckoned with actually in like their position. So if we're thinking about this in a job sense, this is somebody with power and authority. This can be outside of a job sense, obviously somebody else with power and authority. That could be a parent, that could be anybody that you kind of see in this like power position place. So I've written here power and authority, then I have manager, and then also bears stand in for like strength. So being strong or having to be strong in a situation. Then we have stars. So just like, again, here's another one that kind of correlates a little bit to tarot. We see the star as something that can be a symbol of hope, something we can wish upon, something that offers guidance or navigational help. So the same thing is true in Lenormand. We can see hope, guidance, wishes fulfilled. This is a positive card. It can also be, and I have this here, this is from DonnaLeigh. I really got this from her and it's stuck, but multiplication or spreading. So she calls this her like metastasizing card. I think that's the word she uses. No. Is it metastasizing? I don't know. Like the idea of like spreading out. Sometimes I'll see this as like networking or connections. Like when we see all the stars in the sky and we think of constellations and how they connect to one another. So that's when you get into sort of another layer, I would say. But on the surface, positive card, hope, guidance, and wishes fulfilled or wishes, making wishes, that kind of thing. But I would say if I had to pick two, I'd probably go with hope and guidance as being the most universal. And then we have the stork, and this is where we have migration. Sometimes we'll see stork cards where they're on the ground. Sometimes they're like 1 foot up and kind of resting. Sometimes like this, they're carrying a little bundle because of course storks are associated with bringing babies. And then also sometimes we'll see them in flight. So I think I like the word migration because it's a little different than the travel or journey we might see in the ship card. The stork card for me is about the kind, like migration is a big change. It's like a lifestyle change. And of course, bringing a baby is also a lifestyle change. These are big changes or shifts or transitions, migrations, movement, but in a way that's enacting change. So not just like a vacation, right? Like the stork is going to be like moving, whereas the ship could be just a vacation, that kind of thing. So I have migration and changes. I really like both those words for this card. And then we have our last card in today's grouping, which is dog. This one's really easy for me to remember. This is a loyal friend or a trusted person. So those are the two that I used. But if we look in cute little Lenormand for dog, we'll see companionship, loyalty, a trustworthy, supportive friend. This is typically going to be my friend card or just somebody that you know you can lean into. So again, that trusted person. So let's do the exercise where we go through and play around with drawing pictures and figuring out where's my last page where I was doing this at? This is the book I was doing it in, right? I have so many things in here. Yes, okay. So all my little Lenormand doodles. Okay. So some of these might not be as visual, but I'm going to try. Let me make sure my pen is working. I literally just re-inked it. So if you see ink on my fingers, that is why. Okay, we're working. Okay. So for child, I like 13 because 13, when I think of this exercise is to kind of get to know the numbers, right? So for me, I always remember the child is 13 because 13 to me is actually the age you leave childhood. Like you become a teenager at 13. So I don't know why, but that's the easiest way for me to remember it, is to literally go at 13, no longer a child. That's kind of a weird association. I don't know that everybody else is going to jive with it that way. You might have a better way of remembering it. It's not very visual, as I said, but I tend to think of 13 as being that age of like, that's when childhood ends. You know what I mean? So at 13, we're kind of moving out of this phase. For whatever reason, that helps me remember. But again, it's better to have like a visual. If you can think of a good visual, I have done things where I like imagine like the side of their head here is like with the ear. I feel like I have to work too hard at it. So share in the comments if you can think of a really good visual. I can't remember what DonnaLeigh's was for this card, but I just always remember 13 as the child because that's the teenage years. For Fox, now I'm leaning heavily again into DonnaLeigh's here. So she does a lot of things with the teen numbers. So the ones that start with a 1 and then have a number next to it where she goes back to whatever the base number is. So here we have 14. So the 4, if we remember, was the house. And so she sees a fox in the house, like a fox in a hole or a foxhole. And this is useful because in some cards, in some decks, you'll actually see the fox's hole on the card. So like in this deck, for example, let's see if I can find the fox. Yep, there's the fox's hole right behind. So the fox has a house or has a little hole. That's not true on every Lenormand card. This one's a good example. There is no foxhole there behind that particular fox. But you could also remember, DonnaLeigh points this out, you have an F for fox and you have an F for 14. So fox 14. So that could be another way you could remember it, kind of a little bit of alliteration there. For the bear, this one works great. So if you remember, our tree is 5. So 5 is tree. And one of the ways that we learned from DonnaLeigh on that one is this classic tree. If you don't go too far, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points on a basic tree shape. So that's our 5. So our 5 is tree. So what is standing next to the tree? A bear. So 1 plus, so here's our bear standing next to our tree. So 1, 5, bear. So that's kind of what I got from DonnaLeigh on that one. For stars, DonnaLeigh's was also really good. So if you recall our 6, which is clouds. So our clouds is 6. She did that by showing us how when you make cloud shapes, that's a 6. That's a 6. Do you know what I mean? Like if you turn it sideways, that's a 6. When you put a bunch of 6s together and you get clouds, right? Well, what do the clouds cover up? They cover up the stars. So again, we have 1, 6. The 6 is clouds. So what's behind the clouds is stars. So again, really easy way to remember that. I'm afraid I'm not as good with the stork, but let me just turn this. Again, a lot of the more classic decks, this one isn't as good of an example, but I'll show you like for stars. So it's 17 for stars or star, depending on what deck you're looking at. But a lot of times the stork is in this shape, which is literally looks like a 7 and he's got 1 leg up. So I literally think of it as there's the 1, and then the shape of its beak and the bird, there's the 7. Does that make sense? So 1 and 7. So just like with the snake, it's kind of the shape that the stork is in. That works only in some of the visuals. So it is just going to be repetition and practice for some of these. Again, if you have a better one, you could also think of stork, which starts with an S. So stork is S and 17 is also S. So just like with fox and 14, stork and 17. So that's also an option. And then dog, this one is super, super easy because, and again, this comes from DonnaLeigh. Listen, I'm trying to make sure you all know I'm not trying to take credit for her work. Her work is amazing. Just go over there. Anyways, 8 is the coffin. And we use that for the infinity symbol, which means forever. It can mean cycles, starting again and again, death and resurrection, death and reincarnation, whatever. But the 8 or sideways 8 is an infinity symbol, which means forever. And your doggy is like your forever friend. Like, so 1, what is forever? Your trusted friend, your loyal friend, your dog. So 18 and dog is easy for me to remember as well. So here's what we're going to do real quick is we're going to drill on these real fast. So do this with me. A lot of this is helpful to do with, especially if you're like writing down or making any notes, because we tend to remember things better when we are tactile with it, when we work with it physically, when we remember it. So I have, before my little booklet here, I have shuffled up cards 1 through 18. And what I realized I can do with this deck, because there's no titles written on it, is we can take this little box cover, and I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to do this off camera so that you don't see and I don't see. And I'm just going to cover up the top half of the card. so that we know what it is, and we're going to do a little drill and just kind of revisit what we've already learned. So say it out loud. I'm going to try to be a little bit slower. So say it out loud. This is the clover. What number is the clover? So I'm not going to peek, and I'm going to guess. I'm going to say mine once I've given it a second. So say yours or write yours down, but clover is 2. There's 2 little thingies. That's our clover. Next we have birds. Make your guess. What number is birds? Birds is 12. There are 12 eggs in a dozen. Birds lay eggs. Next we have tree. What number is tree? We just did this one in our notes. Tree is 5, a little 5 points. Next we have child. I talked about this one for a while. This is one of our new ones. Child is 13, the age we stop being a child. Next we have fox. Go ahead and guess for fox. Fox is 14. So we have fox in the house, or we could think of fox 14. Next we have dog. Dog is 18, our forever friend. Next we have bear. I should have been showing you that I'm like not making this up. Okay. Next we have bear. Bear is 15, hangs out next to the tree, number 5. So 15 for bear. Next we have scythe. This one can be tricky, and I don't know if I reviewed this one much as far as the visuals of it in our note taking today. What is scythe? Scythe is 10, and I remember this by thinking of the 10 of swords. I got that from DonnaLeigh, of course. Scythe. 10 of swords, something really cutting and quick. Next we have stork. Stork is 17. 17 storks. We could think of it in the alliteration sense, or I have that little like leg and 7, which works with this version of the deck for sure. Next we have ship. We didn't review this one today, but ship is 3. If you turn a 3 sideways, it makes the little wave shapes. The waves under the boat are 3s, so that is a 3. Next we have cloud or clouds. We did review this one today. What number is cloud or clouds? It is 6. We can draw those cloud shapes with 6s. Next we have the broom and the whip. The broom and the whip. We didn't review this one today. Last chance, broom and whip, 11. Repeating the same thing over and over and over again. 1, 1, that's 11. You can also think of the broom and the whip. Well, I did that wrong. That's the broom, that's the whip. As 2 objects side by side, 2 long objects side by side. So 1 and 1, so that's 11 for the broom and the whip. Next we have stars. What number is stars? Sorry, this isn't the best view here with the shadow falling from the box, but this is stars, last chance. It is 16, hiding behind the 6, the clouds are the stars. Next we have house. What number is house? House is 4. 4, we have 4 sides in a square, 4 sides in a house. Next we have coffin. We did review this one today and how to remember it. Coffin is number 8. It's that infinity symbol if you turn it on its side for death and reincarnation. Death is a part of a cycle of life. Next we have bouquet. Bouquet. We did not review this one today as far as like the remembering the number. So one more chance for bouquet. It is 9. So to revisit this one real quick, because I know I didn't review it, just in case you missed the prior episode, if you draw a 9 like that, and you just add 1 line over here, you've got all your little flowers. You could also just draw it like a top-heavy bouquet like that. Think of it like that. Flowers on a stick is a bouquet. Okay, that's 9. Next we have snake. We sort of reviewed this one today. Snake. Snake is 7. And often that is actually a shape that you can find in the snake in the card. And it looks like this is our last one. We have rider. Last chance for rider. Rider is number 1. And I can't remember how I remember this. It's the first thing, it's the start, but that's more, a start is more of a child thing. I don't know how I remember this. I think it's just because it's the first card I find it easier to remember. I can't remember our method. Revisit our previous videos to remember the method, but those are our cards. So now we're going to be practicing this month or this time until we do another one of these videos. We're going to be practicing using the first 18 cards. So we're up to half the deck now. So the first 18 cards, 1 through 18, is what we're going to be playing with because we've learned and practiced and played with these cards. We've looked up meanings. We've maybe written our favorite keywords on our cards. And so after this video, if you haven't already done that, you'll want to write your favorite keywords on cards 13 through 18. And then you'll have something written or a cheat sheet that you're using if you're building a cheat sheet on the side. So today's activity is we're going to practice doing significator readings. And so significator readings from the list of cards that we already have. So I'm going to have this little sheet here so we can remember. So we have cards 1 through 18 takes us all the way to here. So we have rider, clover, ship, house, tree, clouds, snake, coffin, bouquet, scythe, whip, birds, child, fox, bear, stars or star, stork, and dog. So any of the subjects covered by any of these cards can be how we work with them as a significator. So let me explain what I mean. And I do this all the time with tarot actually also, but Lenormand is where I first encountered it, and I've used it, Lenormand, like this. I probably use Lenormand this way more than I use it any other way. So let's say I want to do a reading on something specific in my life from these categories of things. So let's say I want to do a reading about my health. This is probably, now I wouldn't do this necessarily for Aquarian, more complicated answer on that someday, but like, I've talked about it before, but if I was reading for myself, I want to do a reading on my health. I've been trying to kick the last of this cough, and maybe I just want information about it. So let's just see. So my health card is going to be the tree. So what I'm going to do is think about that as I shuffle these cards. And what I'm going to be doing is flipping over cards and looking for the tree. So I'll show you the easiest way that I like to do it. And you can always do it a different way, but this is how I like to do it. We're going to do a 5-card reading. Now you could do the same thing with a 7-card reading. 5-card gives you a pair on either side, and your significator will end up in the center. If you do 7, you'll have 3 on either side. So how you do this will depend on whether you prefer to read in pairs, or if you like the extra context you get from doing a 3-card spread. And you'll know that if you've been doing the 2- and 3-card exercises before now. So I like pairs a lot, so I'm going to do 5 because that gives me my significator in the center and 2 cards to either side, and that will really, I think, it's just a nice number. So I'm going to finish shuffling these, thinking about this stinking cough that will never go away, and see what comes through on either side of the tree card. Okay, so I've given it a good shuffle. So now I'm going to do this the easy way and just turn it over and look for the tree. There it is. So what I'm going to do is put the tree down in the center, the 2 cards that were before it, and the 2 cards that were after it. That's how I do it. Okay, so let's take a look. So my question was basically about what do I need to know about this freaking cough, okay? And already I can tell it's a good reading. Let's look at them in pairs. So here's our significator. So we're not really including this in the reading. We're just aware that this is the subject of the reading. So we're really looking at these other 2 pairs, and then we're going to try our technique called mirroring. So let's start first of all with just our 2 pairs. So on this side, we have the clover. So reviewing here, my clover keywords are luck and short term. So that's positive, right? With a little bit of luck, okay? And the 10, the scythe, I was saying 10 because we were just focusing on numbers. The scythe is all about something, is like quick. It can be something cutting. It can be an abrupt end. To me, this tells me that I'm looking at having a little bit of luck with this thing just being done, and probably being done pretty quick. I have a feeling that it's going to be done sooner than later. So I get this right away from this pair. So it's like a little bit of luck, things are going to end quickly. So a quick end, a positive cut, a positive, something's being cut off. Oh, that should be my cough. It's being cut off and it's good. So a good cutting off, right? So that's kind of an easy way to read that pair. On this side, we have a bouquet, which is gratitude and movement. So what is moving, or what is going on a journey? Like my cough is leaving. That's kind of how I see this. Again, 2 positive cards, a little bit of luck, and then a longer term or a bigger amount of luck, or a bigger good thing. So from a little good thing to a big good thing, plus we have movement. So big good thing plus movement. So again, revisiting here, my bouquet keywords are big gift, recognition, beauty, and gratitude. I'm going to be really, really glad that my cough has moved on. That's kind of a quick way to read that particular set of cards. Now, what we do with mirroring is we can confirm the same sort of reading by looking at mirroring the cards. Now, what mirroring does is it pairs cards that line up. So these 2 would mirror one another if they were looking at each other in a mirror, and these 2 would mirror each other. Does that make sense? So out here we have clover plus ship, right? A little bit of luck, things are moving along. A little bit of luck, this cough is clearing. Now, this is especially significant to me because I'm just still dealing with a little bit of clearing out still. And there's something about the water in this card. It's like, okay, I'm going to finish clearing it out. That moisture is going to finish clearing itself out of my lungs. Hooray for me. And then here, again, we have a cutting that results in gratitude. Something ends, it results in gratitude. So when I pair these 2, and I pair these 2, I see a confirmation of what I'd already read. And that's what's neat about things like we practiced last time in the 9-card spread, how you can read all these different ways and directions, the same cards, and you can knight the cards and you can pair them in different ways. And a lot of times you start out with your like initial impression of the reading and then revisiting it in different ways. So taking this 2 pairs and then mirroring them helps you to confirm you're on the right track with your reading. But let's say I had different cards on either side of this. So let's just experiment for a second. And we'll just pull a different set. So now we have fox and dog, cloud, and broom and whip. Now, if I'd have pulled these cards in this order, I would have probably gotten a much different impression about what's happening with my cough, right? So we have the fox, which is a little bit of something. Let's see, let's go to my keywords so I don't get too far off field here. So card number 14, which is our fox, we have strategy, manipulative, cunning. So I would kind of see like maybe we've got the dog here, which is like a friend. Maybe a friend has some strategic advice for how I might clear the cough. So maybe I'm going to be getting some good advice from a friend that maybe has a good strategy for dealing with cough. So I feel like this would be like more like getting advice. But then over here I have cloud, which is sort of, let's go back to my card here, cloud. We have troubled mind, confusion, and doubt. It's doubtful whether this is going to work. And my last card, and remember your second card in any pair sort of sets the tone. Like it's kind of like the final tone. So if you have a positive at the end, it tends to have a more positive end result. If you have a more negative card near the end of a pair or a line of cards, it tends to end in a more negative. Now this is repeating. So it might be that whatever advice this friend were to give, I'm doubtful about it, maybe do it anyways and end up repeating. So maybe this actually makes my cough last longer, right? Maybe it's actually bad advice. So I would look at this and go, ooh, maybe they mean well, but it's not going to be good advice. It's not going to work for me. My cough's going to keep on going. Do you see how I'm kind of playing with that? So let's pick a different significator because that's so personal and specific to me right now. Let's pick something else. So let's say we want to do a reading about, let's see. Okay, let's say we're in the middle of a move. We want to know how the move's going to go. So for a move or a transition, I'm going to pick the stork. So same idea. We're going to pull 2 cards to either side. And this is pretend. So let's say we're going to pretend I've got a querent in front of me and they want to know about their upcoming move. How's my move going to go? What do I need to know about my move? What's significant about this move, etc., etc. So I'm going to cut and shuffle like I normally would, and then I'm just going to flip it over and look for the stork. Did I pass it already? No. There's the stork. Okay, so put my stork in the middle, the 2 cards that came before, and the 2 cards that come after. Okay, so we start here. We have both. Let me again pull out my little cheat sheet cards here. So I'm going to just actually place them beneath. So we have clouds and snake. And then over here we have bear. Oh, I've grabbed 5, not 15. The trouble with numbers. Bear and birds. Okay. So this might be an easy way to kind of keep up with my own personal keywords and kind of help me track this, which is one thing you can do with your keyword cards, using like a cheat sheet like this, right? So, and if you have a cheat sheet, that also obviously works. So here we have clouds and snakes. So we have troubled mind, confusion, or doubt mixed with betrayal, lies, and envy, right? So there could be some, maybe we're something comes up, like we've got some doubt. Maybe we're concerned that like we bought a house and we're moving to this house we bought, or maybe it's a new area. And we're concerned that maybe we haven't been told. We've got some worry or some confusion or troubled mind around whether or not we've been lied to about where we're going. Maybe we're worried that, we're about to get stabbed in the back. Now, I once was planning a move to move in with somebody who turned out to be really a snake. And I found out at the last minute. So if I'd have been seeing this would kind of track with an experience like that, right? Like you're feeling this kind of like something doesn't sit right. Something's not sitting right. Maybe there's some fear or worry that you're being lied to, or fear or worried that this move is not good. So this could just be like internal conflict, like things that are going on in the mind. And then over here on this side, we have strength and communication, right? So we have bear, which is strength, power, authority. And then we have this birds, which is all about communication, chatter, and expressing, right? Voice. So what I would say to this is like, right here, there's like some worry and some confusion, like, maybe this doesn't feel good. I'm worried there's like a problem. Something's happening. What if something's happening and I'm not aware of it? This feels very like anxious energy here when I look at these in a pair. But then when I look at them over here, it's like, okay, well, the solution, this kind of feels like this is sort of identifying the issue or the concern. And then over here is sort of the solution. Okay, well, you need to be the manager of your own life. Like you need to step into your power here, be strong, and communicate your concerns to whomever you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with somebody else around this transition or this move, you need to communicate around that. You need to have a conversation. You need to like be bold, come out with it, put your information on the table. Like don't leave it to be guessed at. So if you're moving with a partner, you need to sit down and have the conversation with your partner about your concerns. You need to communicate, especially since this can be a pair. If you're moving with somebody, it could be about conversations you need to have with that person. If you're moving in with somebody, you need to have some bold conversation, some strong conversation with that person. So now let's mirror. So clouds and birds. Where's the confusion? The confusion is a result of not communicating. So again, we see this mirroring here, right? We've got the snake. So we've got that lies, betrayal, like snakiness paired with the bear. Okay, well, if you don't want to get taken advantage of by a snake, you've got to be in this position of authority and power. You're the one in charge. So you need to be in charge and tell the snake what's what, right? Not to say you're actually dealing with a snake, but it can be like, you have the control. So again, in the mirroring, when we pair these two and we pair these two, we can kind of get more context and additional information, okay? So Put those over here, and then we'll shuffle these up. Let's do one more. So let's think of another one. What's a good one here? Oh, I'm having trouble with, okay, we've got a querent. Let's pretend our querent's having trouble with a kid. My kid is like, she's a teenager, maybe. Well, okay, I know we said that 13 is when we get out of it, but somebody's talking about their kid. Their kid can be any age. So somebody's like, I have a question about my kid. I don't know. She seems really quiet lately. I'm not getting a lot of information. Like, I just kind of want to know, what do I need to know about my relationship with my kid right now? Could be like, we're just going to play around with that. So we've given it a little shuffle, thinking about this kid situation. Then we'll cut the deck, and then I'll flip it over and look for our child. So there's our child. 2 cards before and the 2 cards after. Oh, we ended up with the same combination bouquet, and then, did we have this combination before? I think we did. Anyway, so what's going on with the kid? On this side, news that affects their sense of health or well-being. So thinking about a teenager, let's say this person's child is like 15, right? They're in like late junior high or early high school. Maybe they're like a freshman in high school. Maybe they got news that's affecting their sense of well-being or longevity. Now, if this is a question about the kid at school, this could be that they got a bad grade, something that they feel like is going to threaten how they're doing, like their overall wellness at school. I know this is a bit of a stretch, but this is just where my intuition took me, so that's where I'm going to go with it. Now, let's say you got something else here. Maybe the kid has gotten news that they think something bad's going on with their health, right? This could be, if this is a daughter, if she's young enough or she's in the right age range, maybe this could be like, oh, she's got a new visitor related to health. Could she have just gotten her period? Like, I don't need to go, like, I'm just saying, like, that could be a thing, right? So there's different places this could go. This could be affecting physical health. This could be like, maybe recently she has just been not feeling super vital. Maybe she didn't make the team of a sport she wanted to play. So there could be some disappointing news that came as a result that has some sort of connection to her physical vitality or well-being, or her like mental, emotional well-being, right? Her longevity somewhere or something. So I'm like kind of playing with what could that be about, right? Especially if it's a mom, because teenagers are not the most forthcoming, with their feelings. Sometimes you got to get a little inkling and then kind of like, hey, did something happen at school? Like, what's going on? On this side, we have bouquet. So again, I can lay these cards out because that would have been helpful. Let's do it. Writer. Again, we have news, information, or something that's fairly quick. We have the tree, growth, health, and longevity. We have the bouquet, which is our recognition, gratitude, some big good stuff. And then we have the broom and the whip, repetitions, aggression, conflict. So on this side, we have that. And then on this side, we have a really positive card paired with kind of a negative card. But the negative card is going to set the tone. Maybe they were hoping for the recognition. So I'm kind of going more and more towards this idea of like, when I look at all the cards, this almost feels like got bad news about not making a team, like a sports team. That's what this feels like, especially because I would put playing sports and stuff in this sort of category of physical vitality and health. And then over here, there's this like craving for recognition, but instead there's like this disappointment. We have, maybe she's repeatedly tried out and repeatedly got a no, or repeatedly tried different sports and just repeatedly not made the team. So there could be like this repeated like negative loop that she's caught up in that needs to be discussed. Like she's feeling bad about herself, perhaps because she's been looking for some kind of recognition and not getting it as a result of this. So let's try mirroring and see if we can confirm. And if we can't, it might be time to sort of sit with this a little longer, see if we can make more sense of it in a different way. So we have the writer. This does match, right? We have news and we have this negative repeating loop. So what I was saying before, what if she's repeatedly being told no, she's in this negative loop of trying out for something new, not getting it, she gets bad news. So there's this bad news loop that she's sort of stuck in. And then when we mirror these two, we have potentially the sports team she tried out for and the desire for recognition. These two do pair very, very well together when we look at that, right? This was what the recognition that she wanted was related to. It was related to whatever this tree represented for her. So there was this hope for this, but this is how it turned out, And so we see that mirroring, again, could confirm. And I'm just playing, it's much easier when you're dealing with somebody in real time who you can ask questions of and kind of riff on some of these things. But that's one thing. And these are some tricky sample significators I'm coming up with. But let's look at something simpler. Oh my gosh, my car is acting a little funny. I'm about to take it into the shop. Oh gosh, how's that going to go? Let's just do a question about a car, something a little less, intangible. So we want to know about the car. So we're going to look for the ship. So I'm going to cut the deck first. We're going to look for the ship and pull the two cards to either side. There's our two cards before. There's our two cards after. Okay, so a couple things. When you get practiced at this, you can immediately look to the last card and kind of get an overall vibe. Like, is this positive or negative, or is this a neutral card? The tree card to me is, especially I'm seeing positive. I'm seeing lots of positive cards. So I think overall the card's going to be fine, okay? But let me break down how I got there. So we have, oh, let me pull these out again here. Bear and Clover. I keep scooching it further and further down. Hopefully you guys can see. And then we have stars. We obviously have our ship. But then we have stars and tree. Did I already pass tree? These are all out of order now. So we have stars and there's our tree. Okay, so we have strength, power, and authority, and a little bit of luck. So with a little bit of luck, the card's going to stay strong. That's how I see this. The card's going to continue to be in good health and be something that you can rely on, right? The manager, the strength, the power and authority that the vehicle offers is that stability, right? So with a little bit of luck, this looks to me like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. And then over on this side, we have wishes fulfilled and hope paired with longevity of the tree. That tells me that not only is this immediate issue with the car going to turn out to be a really small thing, no big deal, and it's going to be fine. But over here, this car is going to be something you can rely on for a long time to come. It's going to help guide you for a long time to come. It's going to be your vehicle for a long time to come. So we have positive and positive. And our last card, when I look at these combination, very positive. So now we mirror it. The bear. So strength and longevity. So we're asking about our car. It's going to be strong. It's going to last a long time. And then we mirror these two, a little bit of luck and wishes fulfilled. These are both positive cards. So again, we're echoing good news with the car. So you're going to take it into the dealership. It's going to turn out to be a very small thing, very easily fixed. Going to keep the car strong. Maybe just literally just needed an oil change and we're all good. It's going to last a nice long time. So I hope that helped. Some exercises, some fun things to play around with. Continue to practice those other things. Remember, we've also been practicing 2-card combinations. And when you do these, interpret them this way and then swap the order because it changes the vibe. So get used to practicing that. That's really, really important because, again, you put 2 cards, you put a card like Clover and Scythe in this order, and you have a little bit of joy or luck that is abruptly comes to an end. You put it this way, something comes to an end and brings a little bit of joy or luck. That's a very, very different reading, depending on just which order the cards are in, because this final card is sort of your outcome or your final flavor of the whole thing. So practice your 2 cards, practice your 3 cards. So 3 cards, you read this pair and this pair here. You could also mirror this pair and look at how this one could potentially have like a focal point or significator, or you can read this as the subject and this is sort of these cards describe what's happening with this. So there's different ways to interpret 3 cards. So practice your 3 cards. Practice the 5 card we did today. And you could even expand that out to 7 where you have your significator. Oh, just got news that I'm getting laid off. So that's an ending, right? And then you could pull 3 cards, the 3 cards that were on top and the 3 cards that were behind, the 3 cards that were above it and the 3 cards that were behind it. And again, so you read your 3 card, and then you do all your mirroring. I usually go from the outside in. But you can do it whatever way makes sense. So that's how you could do that's a 7-card reading. So here's your 7. And then we've also learned the 9-card spread. So the 9 card, you can put a significator in the center intentionally of the 9 cards. So here we have a loyal friend, or you can just pull it randomly and that will tell you what the reading's going to be about. So I didn't intentionally pull the dog, but the dog's at the center. So this reading's going to be about a friend or my relationship with a friend, right? And so I can read my 3 cards this way, my 3 cards this way. I can mirror or pair my corners. I can mirror or pair my diagonals. And then we can do that cool thing where we knight cards, right? Where you go from here, you go 1, 2, and then down, right? You can knight this one to this one, so these become a pair. Right? You can knight this one to this one, so these become a pair, etc., etc. And so you can kind of confirm the reading. So practice your 9 cards. And we will have another one of these in about a month. I don't think I did one of these Let's Learn Lenormands in November. I apologize. Things have been a little bit crazy lately. But we'll be learning cards 19 through 24. So we will see. And I'm hoping once we get to 36, we're going to start playing with the Grand Tableau, which is the spread where you lay out all of your cards, either in that shape or there's another shape for Grand Tableau. Does it give us an example of that back here? I love that there's in this book, you actually have grid pages to practice your 9 cards, 3 cards. You can also do a Grand Tableau where you just lay them all out in even numbers. So rows of 9, so 4 rows of 9, or you can do the more common one, which is rows of 8 with 1 row of 4 at the bottom, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. Wait, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8. 4 rows of 8 with 4 at the bottom. So we will be tackling the Grand Tableau in this series, but not yet. I'm intimidated, so I imagine y'all probably are intimidated with me, but we'll get there. and as I said, just continue to play. This week, focus on picking your keywords or your favorite meanings for the cards that we've done up till now and practicing all those different types of layouts. You can even just ask a random friend or family if there's something they want to practice or get a reading on, or if they want a reading on something specific and you can read them on that thing to sort of get a vibe. But that was this episode. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you as always so much for watching. And an extra big thank you goes out to my Unicorn Fam channel members for all of your support. Thank you so much. And until next time, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye.